What if I told you that the very thing you think makes you acceptable to others is the same thing that keeps you imprisoned within yourself? What if the mask you wear so perfectly, so effortlessly, has become so comfortable that you've forgotten there's a face underneath? You know that feeling, don't you? That exhausting performance of being who everyone needs you to be. The perpetual people pleaser. The one who says yes when every fiber of your being screams no. The one who smiles while drowning in a sea of unexpressed truth. Like this video and subscribe, because by the end of this journey, you will become a different person. So stay until the end. You wake up each morning and put on your face. Not literally, though sometimes it feels that way. You put on the version of yourself that the world expects. The professional, the parent, the friend, the lover. Each role demanding its own performance, its own energy, its own piece of your soul. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the social world. But here's what he understood that most of us don't. When the mask becomes too comfortable, when we forget we're wearing it, we become prisoners of our own making. You feel it, don't you? That knowing sense that you're living someone else's life. That the applause you receive feels hollow because it's not really for you, it's for the character you're playing. The success tastes bitter because it was earned by a stranger wearing your name. This is the first great suffering Jung identified, the tyranny of the false self. You've become so skilled at being what others need that you've lost touch with what you are. Your authentic voice has been buried so deep, beneath layers of adaptation, that you can barely hear it whisper in the quiet moments before sleep. The pain you feel, that inexplicable sadness that visits you in moments of supposed triumph, is your soul mourning for itself. It's the part of you that knows truth, crying out from behind the mask, begging to be remembered, to be honored, to be lived. But society rewards your imprisonment. It pays you to stay small, to stay predictable, to stay manageable. Your boss loves your compliance. Your family loves your sacrifice. Your friends love your availability. Everyone loves the version of you that serves their needs while slowly starving your own. And so you continue the performance day after day, year after year, until one day you wake up and realize you don't know who you are without an audience. You've become so identified with your roles that you've forgotten the actor beneath them all. This is not living. This is elaborate sleepwalking. And Jung knew that until you wake up, truly wake up, you will never be free. But how did you become this stranger to yourself? How did you learn to abandon your own nature so completely? The answer lies in what Jung understood about the human psyche. We are born whole, but we are conditioned into fragments. From the moment you drew your first breath, the world began teaching you who you should be instead of discovering who you are. Your parents, with all their love and fear, projected their unlived dreams onto your tender spirit. Be successful, they whispered through their actions. Be safe, they pleaded through their worry. Be good, they demanded through their approval and withdrawal of love. School taught you to sit still when your body wanted to move, to speak when spoken to when your soul wanted to sing, to compete when your heart wanted to collaborate. You learned that conformity equals acceptance, that difference equals danger. Society, that great machine of collective unconsciousness, wrapped you in its invisible chains. It told you that your worth comes from outside validation, that your value depends on your productivity, that your lovability is conditional on your usefulness to others. Jung called this process the creation of the collective shadow, all the parts of human nature that society deems unacceptable, pushed down into the darkness of the unconscious. Your anger became inappropriate. Your sadness became weakness. Your authentic desires became selfish. And so you learned to split yourself. The acceptable parts you displayed like trophies. The unacceptable parts you buried alive, where they festered in the shadows of your psyche, occasionally erupting in ways that confused and frightened you. You began to project your disowned qualities onto others. The people who triggered you the most were simply mirrors reflecting back the parts of yourself you'd learned to hate. Your judgments became your jailers, keeping you locked in the narrow corridor of who you thought you were allowed to be. Nietzsche understood this process too. The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. But most people lose this struggle. Most people surrender their individuality on the altar of belonging. Machiavelli saw it from another angle, how power structures depend on people forgetting their own power. The greatest tyranny is not imposed from outside. It's the tyranny we impose on ourselves by believing we have no choice but to comply. But here's what Jung discovered. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. When you see the prison, you can begin to find the keys. And so we come to the most radical act of self-love, withdrawal. Not the withdrawal of depression or defeat, but the conscious, intentional withdrawal of someone ready to remember who they are. Jung himself experienced this profound withdrawal, what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. For years, he stepped back from the world's demands and descended into the depths of his own psyche. This wasn't escapism. It was archaeology of the soul. You must become unavailable to the version of yourself that has been serving everyone else's needs. You must disappoint some people. You must let some relationships end. You must say no to opportunities that feed your false self, and yes to the quiet voice that whispers your true name. This is terrifying for most people. Your nervous system has been wired to believe that rejection equals death, that disappointing others equals abandonment. But Jung understood what the mystics have always known. You must die to who you think you are, to be reborn as who you truly are. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." But in this sacred withdrawal, you finally give yourself permission to stop appearing and start being. The world will resist this. People will call you selfish. They will try to guilt you back into your cage. They will say you've changed, and they'll say it like it's a bad thing. Let them. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their approval is not your oxygen. In the silence of solitude, something extraordinary happens. The voices that have been shouting instructions at you from the outside finally quiet enough for you to hear the voice that has been whispering guidance from within all along. This is not loneliness. This is aloneness, a returning to the all-oneness of your authentic self. In this space, you begin to distinguish between your thoughts and the thoughts that were programmed into you, between your desires and the desires that were imposed upon you, between your truth and the lies you were taught to believe about yourself. You start to reclaim your energy. All that psychic energy that was flowing outward in service of others' expectations begins to flow back to you. You feel it, that sense of coming back to life, like a desert receiving rain after a long drought. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you actually are, rather than who you've been conditioned to be. It requires tremendous courage, because it means standing alone with your truth in a world that profits from your unconsciousness. But in this sacred withdrawal, you discover something revolutionary. You are enough. Not the performed version of you, but the real you. The you that exists without achievement, without approval, without any external validation whatsoever. From the cocoon of conscious solitude, something magnificent emerges, the integrated self. You begin to understand what Jung meant when he said, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." This is your rebirth, but not into something new, into something eternal, something that was always there beneath the conditioning. You begin to embody what Nietzsche called the overman, not superior to others, but superior to who you used to be. The shadow parts you had rejected, your anger, your selfishness, your wildness, are no longer enemies to be defeated, but allies to be integrated. Your anger becomes healthy boundaries. Your selfishness becomes self-respect. Your wildness becomes authentic expression. You start to see the world through different eyes. The people who used to trigger you no longer have that power because you've reclaimed the disowned parts of yourself they were reflecting. Your projections dissolve, and with them, your unconscious reactions. This is where Machiavellian wisdom serves your highest good. You understand that true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. You become strategically unavailable to energy vampires. You become selectively visible to those who can meet you at your depth. Your relationships transform. Some people fall away, unable to relate to this authentic version of you. Others are drawn to you with a new magnetism, the irresistible pull of someone who has stopped pretending. You attract your tribe, your soul family, the ones who see and celebrate your true nature. Jung understood that when you withdraw your projections and own your shadow, you become tremendously powerful. Not the power of dominance, but the power of sovereignty. You rule your own inner kingdom with wisdom and compassion. You learn to trust your intuition, that deep knowing that transcends rational thought. You make decisions from your center, rather than from fear or people-pleasing. You speak your truth even when your voice shakes. You honor your needs without guilt or justification. This is psychological freedom, the ability to respond to life from your authentic self rather than react from your programmed patterns. You become the author of your own story instead of a character in someone else's narrative. Your energy shifts. People can feel it. There's something different about you. Now a groundedness, a presence, an unmistakable authenticity that commands respect without demanding it. You emanate the quiet confidence of someone who has found their way home to themselves. But this power comes with responsibility. As Jung warned, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Your awakening is not just for you. It's a gift to everyone you encounter. Your authenticity gives others permission to drop their masks too. And now, here you are, standing at the threshold of your own becoming. The question Jung would ask you, the question that has the power to change everything, is not who do others need you to be, but who are you when no one is watching? In the quiet moments between performances, in the space between breaths, in the pause between thoughts, who lives there? What does that being want? What does that soul long to create, to express, to become? This is the sacred mirror Jung held up to humanity. The recognition that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Change what's inside, and everything outside shifts. Not always immediately, not always obviously, but inevitably, profoundly. You see now why you could never be free while living from the false self. Freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to want what your authentic self actually wants. It's the alignment between your deepest truth and your lived reality. The persona you wore was never evil. It was necessary for survival. But survival is not the same as living. Existing is not the same as being alive. And being alive is not the same as being awake. Jung spoke of the divine spark within each human being, what he called the self with a capital S. This is not your ego, not your personality, not your roles or achievements. This is the unchanging essence that witnesses all change, the awareness that observes all experience, the love that remains when all else falls away. When you live from this place, you become what the mystics have always called a realized being. Not perfect, but real. Not without shadow, but conscious of it. Not without wounds, but no longer bleeding on everyone who didn't cut you. Your healing becomes a healing for the world. Your authenticity becomes a permission slip for others' truth. Your courage to be yourself becomes a beacon for those still lost in the maze of who they think they should be. This is why Jung's work was revolutionary. He showed us that the path to collective healing runs through individual awakening. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love others if you do not love yourself. You cannot free others if you are not free. The ripples of your authenticity spread in ways you cannot imagine. The children in your life learn that they can be themselves. The people in your workplace feel permission to be more real. The strangers you pass on the street sense something different about you, something that reminds them of who they used to be before the world taught them to be someone else. The journey doesn't end with awakening, it begins there. Integration is the daily practice of living from your authentic self in a world that still profits from your unconsciousness. It's choosing truth over comfort, depth over surface, being over seeming. Every day you face the choice. Will you respond from your conditioning or from your consciousness? Will you react from fear or respond from love? Will you live from your persona or from your essence? Jung understood that individuation is not a destination, but a process, a lifelong commitment to becoming more and more yourself. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when you slip back into old patterns. There will be times when the pull of collective unconsciousness feels stronger than your commitment to individual truth. This is not failure. This is human. The difference is that now you notice. Now you can course correct. Now you have the tools to find your way back to yourself when you get lost in the maze of others' expectations. You learn to dance between the personal and the transpersonal, between your individual needs and your service to the collective. You contribute to the world not by sacrificing yourself, but by being yourself so completely that your very existence becomes a gift. Your work in the world transforms. Whatever you do, whether you're a teacher, a parent, an artist, a healer, a leader, you do it from this place of integrated authenticity. Your profession becomes an expression of your essence rather than a betrayal of it. Your relationships deepen. You love others not from need, but from wholeness. You don't complete each other. You complement each other. Two whole beings choosing to share the journey rather than two halves desperately seeking completion. You develop what Jung called a transcendent function, the ability to hold paradox, to embrace both your light and your shadow, to be both human and divine, individual and collective, separate and connected. This is the great work of a lifetime, to become consciously what you already are unconsciously, to embody your fullest potential, to live as the unique expression of universal consciousness that you came here to be. The world needs you, not the programmed version of you, but the real you, your authentic voice, your unique perspective, your unrepeatable contribution to the human story, the gifts that only you can give, the truth that only you can speak, the love that only you can embody. Jung's final message to humanity was this: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society programmed you to be, not who your fears convinced you to be, who you truly are. This is your invitation. This is your calling. This is your path to freedom. The only question that remains is, are you ready to answer it? If this resonated with your soul, share it with someone who needs to remember who they are. Subscribe for more journeys into the depths of human potential. And remember, your authenticity is not just a gift to yourself. It's a gift to the world.